Welcome to Virtual Lunch in the Exhibit Marketers Cafe. I'm Marlis Arnold. And if you've been here before, if you're a regular, welcome back. If this is your first time, welcome to Virtual Lunch. Today we've got a focused topic we're going to talk about here in just a few minutes about adapting exhibits for Trade Shows 2.0. But I want to be sure and have, if you're joining us, go ahead, type your name in the comments. We'll be able to put it up on the screen here in just a minute. Introduce yourself. And I've got just a few announcements and quick things before we get started. Tomorrow, June 3rd, is Global Exhibitions Day. So my husband, Alan, is behind the scenes helping out. He's going to post that link, and then I will put that up on the screen. It'll be in the comments in the Facebook feed. Later, I'll go back and put the link also up in the YouTube feed as well. So we're broadcasting, we're simulcasting. We've gone upscale at Virtual Lunch. Now we simulcast in both Facebook and YouTube. So anyway, so let me put that up. So, oh, hi, Tracy from Exhibitory is here. Good to have you here. And also we have Eric from Bear Analytics. Hi, welcome to the Virtual Lunch. And I'm going to wait just a second. I think Alan is putting up that link for Global Exhibitions Day here. We'll put that on the screen. If anybody else is here, wants to put your name in the comments, we will put you on. I see Tracy actually is joining us from YouTube, so that's cool. I think you're our first YouTube live viewer. We've only been doing that for a couple of weeks now. So, okay, so Global Exhibitions Day is tomorrow, and there's a lot of different things going on. This is just kind of a one-stop shop resource. I know IAEE is also doing some activities. I think there's some local or some regional associations like chapters that are doing things as well. So, but anyway, it's a good way to get involved. Obviously, it's all virtual this year, but it's a great resource to check out and just see what all is available. Okay. Also, Alan, if you want to put up that link for the industry survey, our friend Marco Barozzi in Italy, I don't know if Marco, since we've got time differences, I don't know if Marco's here joining us today, but he sent this link for an exhibitions industry survey. And so I promised that I would put that out there. So as soon as that shows up in the comments, I will put that up on the screen. But basically, they're doing a survey to find out exactly where the industry stands. And so if you could take a few minutes, and this is a really long, crazy survey. I mean, it's a crazy link, but it's in the Facebook feed. And Tracy and whoever else is watching us on YouTube, I will put that link over there. But sometimes the links are not too helpful. So anyway, okay. So I'm going to just take that one down and put this back. Okay, so a couple other things and just like some kind of for fun links. We're going to talk about, as I said, we're going to talk about how trade show, how exhibits need to change and how exhibitor mindset needs to change going forward. We're going to talk about some other things, but I just want to share a couple of links real quick. Alan, if you want to put in the Koeningsegg, I think is how you say it. The Geneva Auto Show was one of the first shows that canceled, and actually they canceled at a point where they had already exhibitors were already setting up. I mean, they were like just a day or two out. So, okay, so here we go. So this is a link to a video that this company, and I think I'm saying it right, Koeningsegg, and gorgeous. If you're a car person, I mean, I love car. I've never had a fancy sports car, but I definitely can appreciate them. But anyway, this car company was already set up. They had their booth all set up. So they did this elaborate reveal of their latest model and filmed it all and put it up on YouTube. So, it's just a really good example of what exhibitors can do to be creative in a time when, you can't, obviously it wasn't the kind of debut that they wanted to have, but they definitely got creative and made this really impressive video. So anyway, I wanted to share that. The next one I wanted to share is actually the next two that I want to share are not companies that I have any personal experience with. I just came across them in the process of all my research, and I thought that these were really cool. We're going to talk a little bit more about when we get into what exhibitors need to do different. We're going to talk about displays and giveaways. But Alan, if you want to go ahead and put up that, first we'll do that social distancing kiosk. This is something that I came across that I thought was clever. Again, I know nothing about the company. This is not an endorsement. I'm not telling you to go purchase this. Just go take a look at it, and then you can talk to your own exhibit designer that you usually work with and just see if they have anything similar. But this was really clever. It's called the social distancing kiosk. And so it's like a stand on wheels, and it's got like the plexi up above, and then the like desktop area. It's clever. So anyway, it could be something that you could use in your booth for like that kind of welcome station. Because we're going to talk a little bit about how things are going to have to change as far as booth layout. The next one I want to share is they call it Socrates, only it's SOCK, because they're custom socks. And it's just really, I thought it was really humorous. I had a client a few years ago, a British client, who gave me a pair of Union Jack socks. And so, custom socks, it's just kind of a cool thing. So anyway, this is a company just called the Socktologist, and they have all kinds of clever custom socks that you could order. So anyway, something different from the land of giveaways. But anyway, so what I want to talk about today, I'm going to go ahead and take that down. That was probably the easiest link of the day. But what I want to talk about is trade shows. Right now we're stuck in the virtual world. We don't know when the in-person events are going to come back. But when they do, one thing we know for sure is they won't look the same. And so there's been lots of discussion out there about how the shows themselves are going to change, like how registration is going to be different, and how, are there going to be one-way aisles and all that kind of stuff. But what I want to do is go down to the exhibitor level and talk about, as an exhibitor, what are we going to need to do differently? So basically at this point, you're going to have two options. You're going to either be the ostrich, who just kind of ignores that things have changed, or are you going to be the butterfly who realizes that change is coming, and you embrace it and you work with it and you move forward? So to all the butterflies out there, we're going to talk about what needs to change. So, and please hop in, share your thoughts as we go along. I want to start with design and talk about how design is going to need to change. Some things like graphics are going to become even more important. I always talked about billboard versus bulletin board, not having lots of little things all over. It's going to be even more important now to have a big graphic that people can see from 10 feet away, instead of having all these little things with little tiny print that nobody can read from the aisle, because people are going to have to know, they're going to have to be able to understand and visualize who you are and what you do. So that's one thing. Another thing is the idea of scheduling appointments. And this can either be in the booth face-to-face, or it can be virtual. Scheduling appointments for people to come so that, it can kind of help with that traffic flow where, you don't end up with a whole gang of people all at once and you can't talk to them. Space it out, have them sign up for appointments. That also helps that you can make sure you've got the right person on hand that they can talk to if they have specific questions. For example, you can also do custom booth tours, or have, a guided path for them to take through your exhibit. If you have a larger island space, say, have a guided path. Again, graphics and signage, having floor signage, having arrows or numbers at different stations to kind of guide people through the booth. Tying in maybe with some kind of an app so that people can, this is common in museums. As people are going through, they can take a self-guided tour and they can, plug in their headset or whatever, and they can listen to something on an app. I'm not saying let's depersonalize and not give that personal service, but if we're going to have fewer people in the booth, for one thing, there'll be less attendees on the floor. So we're still going to need to tie in that virtual element. There's just lots of things we're going to need to keep in mind. And like I said, go ahead. This is not just my ideas. I want to hear your ideas too. So go ahead and type those in as you think of things. But, more space. I talked about that. You're going to have to open up your space. Exhibitors have always had a problem of overcrowding their booth with stuff or staff. And going forward, you really can't. You're going to have to open things up, leave more open space for people to wander through. Hands-free technology. Tracy from Exhibitry. Tracy has some great touch-free technology. Very cool things. Tracy, you want to go ahead, if you want to put your link to the, Alan already beat you to it. He put up the link for the touch-free device that Exhibitry makes. So, but Tracy, if you have any other comment you want to make on that, go ahead. But, anything, because kiosks, having like an iPad kiosk has been very cool lately, but, people probably are not going to want to be touching that. So how can we take it to the next level and make it more touch-free, more, what do I want to say? Less intimidating, I guess, less threatening maybe for people. And then the other thing too is, don't be so concerned about the number of people walking the show. You're welcome, Tracy, on behalf of Alan. But don't be so concerned about the number of people walking the show. I know exhibitors have typically gotten really up in arms about this. It's like, oh, well, there's supposed to be X number thousands of people or whatever. And it's like, it doesn't matter the quantity if the quality is there. And trust me, going forward, you are going to have the highest quality of attendees walking the show. You're not going to have the tire kickers. You're not going to have the people that are just there for kicks and grins. You're going to have the people that are serious buyers. So embrace that, and don't be upset that there's not as many people, because the people who are there are not going to be wasting your time. Trust me on that. Okay, so moving on. If there's any other comments anybody wants to make on design, feel free to go ahead and put that in the comments. I want to move on, talk about attractions and promotions. Again, we talked a little bit about hands-free. Demos, product demos are going to be challenging. If you have a product that, like a piece of equipment or something that people need to handle and touch and explore, I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see. People aren't going to necessarily feel really comfortable handling something. Or if they do, you're going to have to very visibly sanitize and re-sanitize and all those kinds of things. So, I don't know. Those of you that have products that you display, that you demo, what are you thinking? What have you been working on as alternatives? These are the things that we need to discuss now. There's not going to be any shows probably until at least August, and depending on who you talk to, maybe longer than that, or depending on the size of the show, all those kinds of things. So we've got this summer to figure it out. So let's take this time and figure it out. Let's don't show up at shows this fall and go, what do we do? So let's really dig in and think about it. And I understand if you haven't got that far yet and you don't have anything that you want to share in the comments, I get it. That's okay. But please take the time and think about it. Okay, so product demos. So again, back to having some kind of an app. Is there something that you could do where they can interact with something on their own device? That they can have their phone and walk through, like maybe using QR codes. Again, kind of going back to what I was talking about with the museum tours. Maybe having QR codes at the different stations around your booth, and they can scan that, and then it pops up with a recording or a video or Tracy, you probably have some technology that you're working on in that area, I would bet. Oh, and Tracy said virtual 3D demos are getting attracting more attention now. Yeah. So so any kind of a 3D demo, being able to show something in 3D and letting people explore and interact, I realize it's not the same as having the real product, but let's face it, sometimes we weren't able to take the real physical product anyway if it was too big or too stationary or whatever. So there's always been somewhat of a need for having these interactive demos. And now it's like I heard somebody say yesterday that society as a whole, and business especially, has been needing to move in a lot of these directions. But now we've had like about a 5 to 10 year acceleration on our progress. So everything is moving in the right direction, but it's just being forced to move a whole lot faster than we intended. Augmented reality, virtual reality, there's all of these tools that we have that are available. So let's figure it out now. What can we do? Tracy's got another comment for us here. Apps on personal devices that guests download before the event to augment booth displays. Yes. And that goes back to the next point I wanted to make about pre-show promotions. It's going to be even more important now to reach out to people as much as possible. Now, obviously, if you're not necessarily getting access to the show's list and sending to everybody on the list, you may not catch everybody, but trying to at least communicate to the list you have, or like I said, purchasing that list and communicating ahead of time, letting people know what to expect in your booth, how it's going to work, do they need to download something, or just talking to the show organizer and finding out, is there something, are they using a specific kind of a code reader app for the show and tying in with that. Don't try to reinvent the wheel. If they've already got a system and they've already got an app that they're going to work with, tie in with that. Oh, and one of my pet peeves that I've told the exhibitors for years, don't do fishbowl drawings, where people just drop their card in. You are really not going to want to do that now. Trust me. So find other ways, do the badge scan, do whatever other ways to collect leads, but not the cards in a bowl. Tracy says, and they usually live on the device after the event. Okay, yeah, that's a good point. So, once they've downloaded the app and they have these videos and these demos, that would be something that then they could go back to their office and they could show others or whatever. So, yeah, good point. Oh, and another idea as far as sponsorships, thinking about sponsoring things that will help get your message out there or help connect with people. The one thing I've been talking a lot with the trade show organizers is, for years, make it a 365 event, not a 3-day event. And so finding ways to interact throughout the year. If the show is offering something, either ahead of time or after the show or whatever, doing some kind of a virtual networking, maybe virtual happy hours, some kind of connection event, consider sponsoring that. That's another good way to get your name out there, get some visibility in your industry, and also support the community. So, think about what other kinds of opportunities, sponsorships are going to change too. There may not be as many events and things going on site as what there used to be. So you may need to look to some of the virtual options. And everything, trust me, everything going forward for at least the next few years, and probably from now on, the new butterfly world we're going to all live in is going to be a blended world of in-person with virtual. Okay. So you've got to learn how to blend those. The show organizers are scrambling trying to figure it out, but you as an exhibitor need to figure it out too. And that's where I said, don't just look at who all is on the show floor, look at who you can reach and how. Things like the car debut video that I shared with you just a few minutes ago. I've also seen some other exhibitors, some other companies who maybe the show that they were going to go exhibit at just canceled. And so they've set up their booth in their own offices and filmed like a booth tour in their own office. What can you do? Things like that. Get creative. Like I said, this summer is like the perfect time to figure it out. Talking about staffing, we talked about promotions, design, attraction. Oh, and one last thing on attractions. And if we have any crowd gathering people, talent that do that, my apologies to you. And if I'm missing something, please let me know. But I'm thinking crowd gatherers are not going to be the best way to go right now, because that's the last thing you want to do is generate a big crowd. Even having like a presentation area in your booth where you've got like 20 people that come in and sit down and watch a presentation all at once, probably not the best idea. So if you've had a theater space in your booth design, you're going to need to rethink that. And how can that work? How can you have more individual stations or things like that? But, having a magician or celebrity signing autographs or any of those kinds of things, probably not the best technique to use right now. So again, start brainstorming, start thinking, what can you do? How can you take that in a different direction? Okay. Staffing. Your staff is going to have to be even more efficient than ever. And of course, that's my specialty is exhibitor education. I've worked with exhibitors for over 20 years, teaching them how to do a better job of engaging, qualifying, disengaging, overcoming objections, interacting with people in the booth. That's going to be even more important now. Especially the engaging part. It's going to be interesting to see as shows start opening up again, how people interact. Handshakes, not a good thing. And it was interesting. I heard somebody just recently say in the business world, they were talking about, sales reps. And, they said basically, well, don't reach out your hand, but if the customer or the prospect reaches out their hand, go ahead and shake their hand. And I'm thinking, I don't know. I realize it's going to be a really hard habit for us to break. And in a lot of industries, even beyond that, we're huggers. Those of you that go to exhibitor show or IEEE's Expo, or, any of the industry events, and maybe even within your own industry, when you go to events, it's like a giant reunion. You see these people once, maybe twice a year, sometimes less than that. And, the tendency is to hug. It's going to be hard. We're all going to feel really weird and awkward. So, that's going to have to be something that, again, address with your team. How is going to be the appropriate way to handle that? What do you want to do? And people have been talking about alternative greetings, the Eastern namaste, the hands and the nodding and bowing, that's an idea. The waving, I don't know what it's going to be, but, at least for a while, I think the whole handshake and hugging and all that is going to have to be really cautiously left on the sidelines. So, but, it'll be interesting. We've all got to learn together. And follow up is going to be crucial, even more so than ever now, because, you're going to have these people coming in, you're going to have, maybe they'll feel a little bit, what do I want to say? They may feel a little incomplete because they feel like they didn't get everything they needed, or maybe they didn't get quite as much uh, in-depth information. So making sure that you've got that, all their contact information, so that you can follow up and do more maybe in-depth follow-up, sending them more videos, or doing some kind of a virtual walkthrough with them. It's going to take a whole different layer of follow-up than what's been in the past, is what I see. So again, you all are being really quiet today. I'm guessing that there's one of two things: either that you haven't had time to really think about this yet, and so you're feeling a little overwhelmed, or you're still in the process of figuring it out and you haven't got to the point where you feel comfortable actually throwing out ideas. So that's fine. And if you have questions too, I mean, if there's something that that's really bothering you, that you're like, oh my goodness, how are we going to handle this aspect? Go ahead and put that in the comments too. So, we'll put that up on the screen. Oh, and giveaways. So, I mentioned earlier about the custom socks, which I just thought were cute, but some promo product ideas that I've been seeing. Obviously there's the new cliches, we'll call them, of the hand sanitizer and the masks, which it was really interesting. In Expo chat last week, the subject of branded masks came up. And it was, woo, I was surprised. It was very polarizing. It's like you had the people that are like, oh yeah, that's cool. And then you had the people that are like, oh my goodness, no, I would never put my logo on a mask. So, that alone might be a good conversation to have with your organization and see how you feel about that. But some other different kinds of giveaways. A touch tool. This is really cool. I've seen it. It kind of looks like a little bottle opener. It attaches to your key ring. It's like this little metal, I think it's metal, tool. I haven't actually seen one in person, just pictures. But you can use it to like push elevator buttons, or on a iPad kiosk or whatever, like, or like the store when you check out with your credit card or whatever. So it's this little device that you can use. A mask buddy, I saw it was called, but it's like a strap that goes on, that, because the mask with the elastic over here sometimes can hurt. So it's like a little release, a strap for that. Some different working from home tools like phone stands, chargers, because so many of us, well, I've always worked from home, but so many people now are working from home that aren't used to it. So, devices that can help them with that. Privacy protectors. There's little devices that you can get that you can clip over your webcam, so that it's like closed, and so it can't be used without your intention. And then wireless headphones. Now, I'm wired, but I have a set of wireless headphones that I absolutely love. They're Bluetooth. So, things like that. Oh, let's see. We got another comment from Tracy. Andy Ignato from the Chicago Sun-Times for years has greeted people at trade shows with a handshake, followed by him taking a small bottle of hand sanitizer, which he uses and then hands to the person. Interesting. Yeah. So, and hand sanitizer is going to be everywhere on the show floor. I can guarantee. Well, once we can finally get it again. but yeah. So, but yeah, it'll be interesting to see how people handle that. So a couple other ideas for giveaways. Family activities. Everybody's spending a lot more time with their family. So, giving away things like games or puzzles, or, like picnic equipment, outdoor type stuff that people can use with their families. It's kind of showing, by giving away an item like that, you're showing that you're recognizing them as a person and not just as a client. So, keep all these kinds of things in mind as you're moving forward and you're looking at what can we do? How can we be more empathetic, more relatable? all those kinds of things. And the nature gifts are really good. You know, a lot of times I've seen like the plantable cards where it's like a piece of paper that's got seeds embedded in it, things like that, actual little plants. You know, there's lots of different things that you can do along those lines. So it's going to be interesting to see where we go from here. So, you know, go ahead. If you have any other thoughts or questions, please go ahead and type those in the comments. But, you know, it really truly is a whole new world that we're entering. And, you know, I don't have a crystal ball. I don't know, is this going to last a year, 2 years, 5 years, the rest of our lives? You know, I don't know how these changes are going to happen and what kind of timeline we're in, but I do know that now's the time to think about it and to get a plan. And so I hope that some of these ideas have been helpful to you today. Like I said, I didn't intend for it to just be me. I thought we would have more interaction, more questions, but please reach out to me as we go forward with this. Let me know if there's other thoughts that you have. If you feel like this merits another discussion, which I'm sure it will down the road in virtual lunch, we can do that too. And we'll just, you know, we'll keep the conversation going. I'm happy to keep these virtual lunches going. If you are still feeling benefit from it and you're still gaining from the conversation, I want to be a resource for you. So please feel free to reach out to me. And we will be back here next Tuesday at noon Central in the Exhibit Marketers Cafe for virtual lunch. And also feel free to go. I'm going to use what we talked about today and put together a podcast episode on trade show insights. So you'll also be able to check that out. And I'm looking, I don't have that. Alan, do you want to pop in just trade show insights in the comments? We'll put that up on the screen. But, you know, I did a 3-part series on what trade shows need to do, talking about preparing for a comeback, communications, and blending the in-person and virtual. But like I said, that was a little bit more the show side in general. And we're now moving into talking about what you need to do in your own individual exhibit. So watch for that. I don't know exactly when I'll get that up, if it'll be this week or next, but I am working on a podcast about this very topic. So like I said, if you have other ideas or thoughts, please send them to me. And we will be continuing this conversation, I am sure, for many weeks and months to come. So anyway, thanks for joining us today for virtual lunch. And we will see you next Tuesday, noon Central, in the Exhibit Marketers Cafe. Bye.